It's Monday, and this is live video number 3, which I'm so excited about. Again, just it's amazing how people have responded to these videos, and I never thought that it was possible to have the kind of response that we've had. So I'm doing it again. This is number 3, and today is going to be an interesting one. It's completely unrelated to what we're doing with Parable 15. It's more just a personal experience that I had that I kind of wanted to share with you. First of all, let me say it's interesting how life throws these things at you when you least expect it, from the least expecting place, if that's correct English. Things come from a place where you don't really expect it, and then they start to mull in your head, and so I want to tell you what happened this weekend. I was spending some time with my children. I have 2 incredibly beautiful daughters, and my 8-year-old, we were playing yesterday, and I was drawing on her tattoos. I have tattoos, and we were playing, and I let her write a tattoo on me, and what she wrote was, "I love myself," on my arm. And it was a joke. It was insignificant. It was an 8-year-old just playing and having some fun. And it got me thinking, because I don't know about you, but oftentimes I really don't feel like I love myself at all. And it got me thinking, why would she write that, knowing not really anything about what's going on inside of me? And, as a dad, I come across as strong, and I come across as the person she needs, and I'm always focused on being the strongest, best dad I can be. Yet she writes something insignificant in her mind that has impacted me in a way that I cannot even explain. It has corrupted my brain with thinking about why would she write that, and how pertinent that is for my life. So I want to talk about loving yourself and how that can be weird. I was raised with the idea that loving yourself is arrogance or prideful or something like that, that you need to you need to put others first, and saying that you love yourself is a little bit vain. And yet, in the world that we live in, we are inundated with media all the time that brings us down. Negativity is everywhere. In the country that we live in, it's very easy to get despondent and feel that there's no point in loving yourself or anything else, really. But the truth is that not loving yourself, or hatred for yourself, which oftentimes is the way that I feel, first of all, is an illusion. The reality is we may hate the things that we've done, or we may hate some behaviors that we have, patterns or habits that we have, but the reality is that it's an illusion, and that the only way to kind of be better and be the human beings that we're supposed to be is to focus in on ourselves and become better. And that is by loving ourselves. So just a couple of things that I've learned, and a couple of things that I'm trying out that I want your comments on. If you have tried this stuff or feel this stuff and you want to try it, please comment and let me know what you think. But one of them is just accepting that we are on a journey. What we go through is what we grow through. What we go through in our lives, I feel, is all part of the plan. It's all part of what we're meant to go through to become the people that we're supposed to be. And so if that's the premise on which we're working, then loving ourselves is essential. The first thing we've got to do is forgive ourselves for the things that we've done, the behaviors that we have maybe done that we're not proud of. But loving ourselves is the first step to loving other people and to being the people that we're supposed to be. And so just a tip on this, and it's something that I'm working on, is criticism. We've got to stop criticizing ourselves and then other people. It becomes a waterfall. We start small, at whatever age that is. We start with what I call the trickle effect. We have a little bit of negativity or criticism on often ourselves. As musicians, we are the most critical of ourselves. We never really give ourselves any praise, because we're always trying to work harder to be better than what we are today. So tomorrow we want to be a better singer or a better musician or a better player, whatever it may be. And so we get into this habit of criticism rather than kind of giving ourselves a little bit of credit. So that then turns into, drop after drop after drop, then kind of turns into this pool, this little sort of puddle, and then that becomes a pool, and then that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually, it's a river of sorts. And there's two ways to look at this thing. The one is that we can drown in the river we've created, or in the pond we've created of negativity, of criticism, of doubt, of all those things, or we can float on top of it. And for me, that is something that I'm really struggling with right now. I'm struggling with the idea that I need to swim above what drowns me sometimes, this negativity, this doubt, this criticism of myself constantly over and over again, and this weird paradigm that if I do that, if I criticize myself, it'll make me better. But the reality is that all it does is make me feel worse about myself, and I feel like I'm not going to be productive in the things that I'm trying to achieve. So it's just an interesting thing that kind of popped up in my life. Excuse that noise. So it's an interesting thing that popped up in my life. That, like I said, a little cute tattoo that my daughter wrote on my arm, and all of a sudden I'm inundated with these thought processes. So that's something that I am passionate about, that I think about, how to get to a place that we are the best version of ourselves that we can be. And I think it starts with forgiveness. If you go back in history and you look at all the religions of the world, not the extreme ones, not the extremists, but the religions of the world teach about forgiveness. And we hear these things like forgiveness is for ourselves, not for other people. Forgiveness is, for us to be better. And so that's the first step, I feel, is to forgive ourselves and then move forward. And so that's something that I'm really working on. We constantly do the stuff where we're inundated every single day with negativity, criticism, everything around us, whether it's the news, whether it's our families, whether it's whatever it is. And what we've got to realize is that all of those things are set there deliberately for us to grow. We got to grow the muscles that are weak, which is why the world or the universe or God or whoever you believe in or whatever you think puts those things in our place. It put it in our path. It puts it in a way that we can grow that muscle, get better at it. And so it's just a little encouraging message for you on a Monday morning, that if you feel like that, if you ever feel like you're not enough, that life is difficult, that you are the cause, you are the reason, oftentimes what it really is that life is putting some stuff in your path in order for you to grow the muscle, which is to forgive yourself, to forgive others, and to start to care more about what you're doing and why you're doing it. That is, and let me say this, if you go back and you watch the last 2 episodes that I put up of Monday kind of thoughts, I'm calling this Monday Madness because, again, it's a live video. It's not something that I do often, and I ramble on because I'm trying to kind of work this stuff out as I go. But if you watch the other episodes, they start off with explaining the less is more tour, what less is more is about. It's about, getting rid of the clutter. It's about finding our true selves, being vulnerable, being able to put ourselves out there and make it happen. The second one is about leadership and what that means and how to be a leader, and being honest, again, with ourselves, being honest with what we're trying to achieve and asking people for help and being vulnerable in that. And then this one is just about vulnerability. Again, is something I'm so passionate about. It's not about being weak. Vulnerability and shame and things like that all get clumped into this weakness pile. And as the truth is that there's no growth. There's no creativity without vulnerability, without being real, without being honest. And sometimes that causes confusion in us because we go, well, if I'm vulnerable and if I'm honest, and if I'm trying to clear the clutter, then am I conceited? Am I arrogant? How do I love myself when, I've been taught my whole life that I'm supposed to not be, vain, and I'm not supposed to be all those things. And I think, again, it's about the balance. It's about being the best you that you can be, and that is about putting other people first. That is about stopping the criticism on ourselves and on other people. And if we can get this thing right, if we can go through our lives getting better at not criticizing other people, and I'm the first to admit that I criticize people. I judge a book by its cover, often. I am judgmental of people, and I don't want to be. It's not something that I believe is the right way to do things, because whatever I'm doing, I'm reflecting on myself. All of these videos, let me say from the outset, are me talking to the mirror. It's preaching to the choir. At the end of the day, these are all the things that I battle with every day, and I'm putting my thoughts out there because hopefully it can help you to see things from a different perspective, maybe, because that's what I'm looking at. But I think that, often people put so much pressure on themselves to be different than what they really are, because we're ashamed of the things that we don't like about ourselves. The reality is that there is always time for a change. The change is in your mind, the change is yours to make whenever you want to. And so for me, that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's what I'm working on. I find it incredible how these things can float into your mind by the most insignificant things. My 8-year-old wrote this, "Love yourself, I love myself," on my arm. Something that just struck a whole bunch of thoughts running through my head. And the truth is that it was, to a certain degree, it was something I needed to see, was something I needed to think about. Because I had to ask myself the question, do I really love myself? And the truth is that I should, but I don't. And again, it's not about being vain. It's not about being conceited or arrogant. It's about believing in yourself. To bring this back to music and bring it back to Parable 15, bring it back to recording songs and being vulnerable and writing authentic music, what it's about essentially is believing in yourself. And we cannot believe in ourselves if we don't love some part of ourselves that we feel we have a message to send. We get on stage every single weekend. We get on stage and write songs or play songs. We get on albums and write songs. But we get on stage every single weekend because we believe we have a message. We believe that there's something we have to say that the world needs to hear. And the reality is that in order for us to make that our passion, in order for us to be real, we actually have to believe we have something valuable to offer, which means that hating ourselves or not loving ourselves is actually an illusion. So the first step is to accept that it's an illusion and that we need to forgive ourselves for maybe the behaviors or the patterns. And then we need to stop the criticism. Stop criticizing ourselves and stop criticizing other people, because we're creating that pattern. I want to say to you, if this has helped you, if this is interesting to you, please comment below. Tell me your thoughts on this stuff. I know that it's kind of all over the place and a little bit random, but that's the stuff I'm going through. That's the stuff I'm thinking about. I think it's awesome that we have a platform where we can talk about stuff that is weird and stuff that we don't talk about with a lot of people. But for me, it is, I want to encourage you and I want to encourage myself to try and love ourselves a little bit. There are tons of principles out there about loving yourself, and there are also tons of demotivating factors, media, social media, that teach us not to, that teach us to criticize ourselves, whether that's the way we look, whether that's the way we act, whether that's the way we sound. I'm constantly criticizing myself about my voice. Am I singing well enough, or do I talk well enough? Sometimes I feel like I have this very nasal voice, and I think, oh, that's not great. And all these things that I constantly do that I don't realize as a pattern in my life. I am creating a perception. The law of attraction, which is a weird topic, and I'm not going to get into weird things like The Secret and all of that kind of stuff, but what I am going to say is, what you say is, when you confirm something with your mouth, your brain accepts it, and our behavior is a physical manifestation of what we believe. And I'm trying to change that. So hopefully you can do the same. Let's stop the criticism. Let's work together to empower people. Let's work together to lift people up and encourage people to be the best version of themselves that they can be. And by doing that, we'll realize that less is more. that we don't need all this paraphernalia and all this weird stuff. I hope this has been helpful for you. I really, really appreciate everybody that's on here. Just want to say hey to Andy, hey to Bobs, hey Zaz, hey Marius. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching these videos. If you like what you're seeing, please share them. If it's going to help someone else, if you know somebody who you know behaves or says that they don't like themselves and they criticize themselves, maybe they need to watch this video. I don't know. All I know is that there is hope. There is a future, there is a purpose, and there is a plan. And I'm hoping that some of this stuff can help you. So if it does, share it, please. Really appreciate you guys. Carry on commenting, carry on liking and sharing this stuff. If you like what you're hearing, you want to hear some music related to this stuff, music that is inspiring, music that is going to change your perception on things, music that is authentic and real, please go to the Parable 15 page, like the page, go to the website, listen to some of the music, and I really want to encourage you as much as I can every Monday, as long as I keep doing these things. And as long as you guys like it, I'll keep doing it. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.